Welcome to the Home Business Podcast with Richard Captain Henderson, publisher of Home Business Magazine, and Sherilyn Colleen, managing editor. This how-to show helps you successfully operate your home-based business.
Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Henderson, your skipper at Home Business TV.
Hey, I'm Sherilyn, your co-host.
Let's cure, foresee, and get underway. The coronavirus pandemic is slamming small and home-based businesses, and some of us may have to close our doors for good.
But according to Aaron Joy, founder and CEO of Black Dress Circle, it's time to join forces, educate one another, and find tangible solutions for these challenging COVID-19 tomorrows.
From shifts in business mindsets and customer messaging and expectations to tangible technology for remote working, business owners can become more competitive and prosperous.
Yes, we can find business opportunities in the challenges of surviving through the COVID-19 pandemic and increase a business's long-term prosperity.
So, greetings, Aaron Joy. Welcome to the Home Business Podcast. Say hello to our audience.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much, Richard and Sherilyn, for having me.
Hi, thanks for coming on our show.
Hey, thanks for connecting in. So we say this, what there's 6 degrees of separation between people. We found out we have 3 degrees of separation because you live in the St. Louis area and I grew up there. So that's a coincidence.
It is a coincidence. You told me where you grew up, and I was just in that neighborhood over the weekend. I've been here in St. Louis, Missouri for about 25 years.
Cool. Well, in these tumultuous times, thanks for connecting in.
Oh, this is my passion, Richard and Sherilyn. I think like it is yours, is supporting business owners, supporting entrepreneurs in all sizes of businesses, and helping people make sense of the really tough decisions that we all need to make and the challenging problems that we need to solve. It's what I'm doing all day, every day. So I'm thrilled to be here contributing to your audience and want to answer any questions that I can.
Hey, yeah, before we launched in there, you mentioned ahead of time that you do a Facebook Live every morning.
I do. So I I'm a product of the home building crash in 2007, 8, 9. I was a consultant to the home building industry. And when we were heading into a recession, we know that markets are cyclical, and about every 10 years, the United States, has a market recession. So a couple of years ago, I started preparing for this downturn that we're in now. And I knew that I wanted to come out as a resource for business owners, not just my clients, but for my broader community. So the weekend of March 14th and 15th, I took some time to kind of dust off my planning that I had developed knowing we were coming into a recession. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, my plan has been to be a resource for people. And so Monday, March 16th, I launched my first daily Facebook Live, 8:30 a.m. Central Time on my personal Facebook page. And I just show up and share what I'm learning, what my clients are doing to navigate this crisis. I share, relevant information that I've been reading in the St. Louis Business Journal, the Wall Street Journal, the Harvard Business Review, to really give business owners who are inundated with information and problems and decisions to make, to give them really actionable tools and information and mindsets. So that's what I do on the Facebook Live. And I was able to, start planning for who I wanted to be in the face of a market downturn a couple of years ago, when thinking about the crash of the housing industry back in 2007, 8, 9. Thinking that it was going to be coming again. Something was going to come again.
Well, yeah, kind of putting it in perspective, I think that crash in 2008, 9 is kind of like a warm-up, a little baby sister for what's hit now with, bigger seismic shockwaves, so financial shockwaves. So it's something we're all going to have to get adjusted to. It sounds like you're making those adjustments already. So thanks for connecting in.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Richard. This is completely unprecedented. I'm sure, you have been hearing, your audience, your magazine subscribers and followers have been hearing that, we are in the most uncertain economic times that we have faced as a country since the Great Depression. And we have, we are approaching, I suspect when the unemployment figures come out on May 8th, that we will be approaching historic unemployment levels. The unemployment was 24% during the Great Depression. And we're already there right now. And companies
man,
are
good
still—
time to run your own
Yes.
business, I guess. Then you can say you're not unemployed.
Well, actually, I think it is a good time to run your own business, Richard. And I think it's a great time to run your own business from home. First of all, everyone's working from home, and your audience has the advantage of having been at home, working from home, optimizing their home work environment for, years.
Yeah, that's so funny. To me, it's like I'm doing the same thing every day, and suddenly I'm interacting with people, and they're all lost and eating too many Cheetos and not getting any work done. And hey, welcome to my world.
No, exactly. I totally can relate. This is my team has been remote for a lot of years. I have a couple of employees and a couple of regular freelancers, 1099 independent contractors who's worked with me for years. And my number one employee, she's been with me for 16 years. We worked together during the crash of the home building industry. She moved to Europe several years ago, and we haven't seen each other in person. So talk about home-based. She is what's called a digital nomad. She and her husband moved to Europe with nothing but their backpacks. They sold all of their belongings. They rented out their house here in St. Louis, Missouri, and they became dual citizens. They are Hungarian citizens as well. And they are so home-based that they move. They go to Spain for 3 months, and then they go to Italy for 2 weeks, and then they go to Russia for a month. So we're talking hardcore home-based.
That's cool. Well, let's learn a little bit about some of the opportunities we can click in here as well, figure this new mess out.
So Erin, during the COVID-19 crisis, how can small businesses collaborate and communicate, and why is this so important to do so?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of collaboration and communication among small business owners has always been a hot topic in order to compete, just to stay relevant and competitive, to compete with larger brands and larger companies. Now more than ever, entrepreneurs and business owners have the opportunity, while they're huge competitors. Let's take a retailer like Macy's. That is a huge organization and a big ship to turn. That is not an organization that is nimble. And there are home-based retail businesses that were already online or that are propping themselves up to go online quickly, that can be collaborating with other online retailers, that can be coming together to create more than what they could create on their own. And that really is the name of the game. That's one of the moves that I'm making in my business, is with my marketing company that I work very closely with, Arco and Associates. We've worked closely together for 7 years. But now, during the COVID-19 crisis, we are even more public about our alliance. We are coming out together to develop programming to serve the small business community in the St. Louis, Missouri area, to serve both of our clients together. So for example, all of Arco's clients get a free 30-minute coaching and consulting session with me. All of my clients are getting a free 30-minute consulting session with Arco. And so it's this time where, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Let's come together to bring even more value.
That's such a good point, because all along, no matter what the environment is, we talk about how if you want to grow, link up with other home-based entrepreneurs. Yes. and build some synergy. But now, with the way the market is right now, and with the stay-at-home and the having to work from home and the quarantines and all, it's a natural way you have to grow. In other words, you're being forced to link and leverage with people. And that opens up a whole new opportunity, because it's going to become the norm instead of something you have to pursue and think about to join with other companies. Now it's going to be the norm, where this environment is going to push people to work together like that, home-based and remote.
I agree. And what I would add to that, Richard, to build on what you're saying, is that now more than ever, home-based businesses should be regularly talking to other home-based businesses within the same industry and outside of their industry, because the only way that we're going to be able to solve all the problems that we need to solve and make the decisions that we need to make, the only way that we're going to be able to solve them and make those decisions in a really effective and powerful manner is by taking a broader look at what's happening in the business environment in total, not just my business, like with a really narrow focus, and not just even my category or my sector or my industry, but we really need to be looking at things much more holistically, so that we understand, okay, so what's happening with Macy's, what does that mean for my business? And Macy's is just a microcosm of what's happening in the entire retail industry. Retail was set to have 50%. This is what the forecasters in retail thought was going to happen, was 50% of brick and mortar retailers were going to go out of business within the next 5 years.
Isn't that shocking?
That was before the pandemic.
And now, yeah, I mean, you're right. So you got to kind of open up the aperture and, see the bigger picture if you're going to be able to leverage the opportunity of working with other with other home-based entrepreneurs. But COVID-19 is showing to be more than just a short-term speed bump. Aaron, what are some of the challenges that come with owning small business and then leading your teams during the pandemic to leverage these opportunities?
I really think that the number one goal has to be company survival. That is our number one goal, is leading our businesses through the downturn. We haven't hit all the way down yet. We haven't hit bottom yet as an economy. And then, leading our teams through the bottom, where we're going to be for a while before we lead our teams through the recovery.
So what you're saying is that to be able to lead effectively, you got a plan that you're going to have to change the way you lead when you hit bottom, and we haven't hit bottom yet. That's a good point. I mean, who knows how low this is going to go?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know. I do think that it takes a different, maybe leadership approach at each phase. The number one goal is survival, and the number one tool for company survival, regardless of the size of your business, is cash flow management. So that is the top matter for business owners, is to reduce expenses, to cut non-strategic costs, and to do anything that can be done to drive revenue, even if it means getting into a new business that you never thought you would get into. Maybe you sell pet supplies and you love selling pet supplies, and that's what all you thought you would sell is, let's say, pet supplies online. That is the perfect business to be thinking about. Well, how should we be getting into pet grooming? We already serve pets, and their owners. What else could we do?
Look at businesses that are related to what your current business is, but you got to look at diversification. You got to look at adding on new revenue streams.
I look at it in two ways, Richard. I think that you can either, and this comes straight out of my strategy textbooks in my doctoral studies. You can either you can either serve the exact same audience and bring them new stuff, or you can take your product and somehow extend it to a broader audience. Those are basically your two diversification moves. So in the case of the pet supplies, what if I could market my new pet grooming to the same people that I'm already bringing pet supplies to? Or
right, because you've already got a captive audience.
Exactly. Or on the flip side, okay, I'm bringing this audience pet supplies. What else could I bring them that's non-pet related? And those are the kinds of moves that we have to make. The research shows that the companies that really surged ahead during the Great Depression were the companies who didn't just hunker down. They didn't just hunker down by focusing on survival and by managing cash flow. They also pivoted. So that's my mantra, is hunker down and pivot.
Cash flow and diversify.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
That's good.
Yeah. And let me answer to you asked about leading the team. What I want to just speak to for a moment about leading the team is that it's, in a crisis, our leadership style has to shift a bit, and something for business owners to be thinking about. We can have home-based businesses that have many employees, remote employees, maybe people are still coming into your home, who knows? The objective with leading the team is being the calming force. So if you as a business owner have to freak out a little bit, ideally you're doing that behind the scenes with a trusted resource, maybe with another business owner, another home-based business owner, but to your team, you are the calming force. You are the steady hand that knows what to do next. And you just got to know for today, what is the next move this afternoon? What is the move, for this evening? That's as far as you have to know right now.
So talking about leadership, it's not necessarily task management and keeping everybody on point. It's looking at that human side and realizing there's going to be a lot of anxiety out there, and you got to get everybody pulling in the same direction.
I agree. And I think that how you can then manage tasks is by first focusing on the person. I just got a phone call with one of my team members who works from her home, and she always has worked from her home here in St. Louis, Missouri, even though I keep an office. Not right now. I have a home office now. I love working from home. And, I've been making a point of really investing in my relationship with this employee so that when I need to come out and say, hey, wait a minute, that didn't go the way I needed it to go, I have, to use the terms from that book it's called something like filling your bucket. Have you heard that term before? You got to fill your bucket. So I fill her bucket with all the appreciation and the acknowledgement so that when I pick up the phone on a lunch break and I say, I've got like 2 minutes to talk to you, let me tell you where you went wrong with this project and what you need to do differently, she can take it.
Right.
She can take it.
Well, you've laid a good foundation there. So you have a good relationship so you can communicate on the tough stuff then.
That's right. That's right.
So we've discussed this a bit, but what are some opportunities that a home business can leverage during COVID-19?
Well, I think there are so many directions that a business owner who has a home-based business could go in. And the beauty of being a home-based business is that you're not paying rent to a landlord, among other things. So overall, your costs are already lower than some of your competitors. And so what I would be doing is looking out into the industry, looking out into the market to see where there are gaps. So where do the business closures and the closings start to fall out? What industries are those in? Because just because a business is closing doesn't mean it's because the industry is down. It could be that, that business had an expensive lease, they had a bunch of debt, they didn't have any cash coming into this recession, and they just didn't have the staying power. So I think that the opportunities are for every business owner to re-examine their business as it stands today, to re-examine the industry that they're in, their values, their priorities, and to create anything. So I can't really say that there's, one specific thing. I mean,
Right.
we know that there's
kind of the opportunities are everywhere.
Yes.
It's just, you got to kind of look at your industry, and maybe one way of looking at it is if the demand is still there, but it's dropped, 25%, 35%, but 50% of the competitors are suddenly gone. That means there's an increase.
You got it.
in opportunity. And that's situational for every business out there.
Yeah, and that's why, Richard, I really am saying as part of my mantra is prioritize survival over anything, because if you can survive, then you're going to very likely have half as much competition.
So you want to still have some chips at the end of the night when
that's right.
Other parties have folded. Well, we do have to keep a cool head in what's going on. You've talked a little bit about that, about maintaining the calm and everything. But do you, have any other advice on taking action and reducing anxiety with maybe not only the people you're leading, but also with your vendors and being the people you're selling your products to and being a calming influence?
I mean, I think that comes down to communication. If you want to be a calming force who people look to, if you want to be a calming force who your team members and your vendors and your collaborators and your colleagues look to as a wise leader and business owner during this time, that is going to be expressed through communication. And so, if I wanted to calm my vendors, I would be in communication with them proactively. Hey, this is where I'm standing with this invoice. I'll pay you on this date, this much, or could we renegotiate, whatever the case may be. In terms of how business owners themselves calm anxiety, I think it comes down to a couple of key moves that ideally people were doing before this pandemic, but certainly if you don't have these habits in place, you can implement them now. First, managing sleep. We have to manage sleep. I'm a huge proponent of this. There's a lot of research that shows that Americans don't get enough sleep, even though we need.
Yeah, I told you I'm getting too much sleep, though.
Yeah, exactly. Lucky you. Even though we know we need 7 to 8 hours a night, So many people don't get 7 to 8 hours a night. I would first and foremost focus on regulating sleep. Now, some of the things that I'm going to share with you, they come right out of my doctoral research. I've been studying business psychology for the last 5 or 6 years as a PhD candidate. I'm all but dissertation now. And this is my area of research, is well-being and success among entrepreneurs. And so regulating sleep is the first thing. One of the things that I do to help regulate my sleep is I sleep from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's just what I do. So I have to stop working by 8:30 p.m. if I'm going to be turning off my phone and lights out at 10 p.m. It takes me a while, like it probably takes all of us a while right now to wind down.
You know, that's the biggest problem I have. I'll set a time, hey, I'm going to go to bed at 10:30. I'm still working 5 minutes before that. You're right. You need like an hour and a half to wind down.
I do. I take a warm bath every night. And you might wonder why I'd be talking about taking a warm bath on a podcast for business owners. But 11 years ago, I started doing some really deep work with a phenomenal therapist who'd been in the business for like 40 years. And he got me in the habit, encouraged me to take a warm bath every night. I've been doing it for 11 years. And that is how I wind down, take a breath, think about the day, let the concerns and the anxieties from the day just kind of wash away, plan in my mind the next day, and start to unwind a bit.
So everybody might have a different way, but you got to build a routine. You got to have.
That's my next point. I love it, Richard. I love it. That is my next point, was having a routine.
Okay.
So I love it. So my COVID-19 routine involves during the day, I work from 8:30 a.m. until noon. I take a lunch break from 12 to 1. I work from 1 to 5. I take a dinner break from 5 to 7. And then I work from 7 to 8:30. And then I'll tell you, if I work after 8:30, when I get off that call that I have every night at 7:30, if I work after 8:30, now my sleep is not regulated. And it all kind of fits together.
I mean, are you able to keep to it pretty well each day? I mean, that's pretty structured.
Well, I do keep to that really well.
I'll tell you where I have. Spot, but.
No. I do keep to that very well. And I'll tell you, it's tempting. It's tempting because I'm home alone, and I have assigned myself a lunch break from 12 to 1. And it's really tempting to just quickly eat and then go back to work. And I say to myself, nope, Erin, it's not good for business. Don't do that. Don't do that right now. Just stay on break, go step outside, get a breath of fresh air. Okay, if you want to sit down at your laptop again at 12:50 instead of 1 p.m., that's fine. But for the most part, yes, I do stick to this. And when I don't, it causes me problems.
So, Erin, what are some ways to improve business operations on a day-to-day basis besides managing your routine and trying to take care of your anxiety and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that the best thing that we can all be doing right now to manage operations is to leverage technology. So if you are a business that doesn't have, for example, software to manage your projects and to manage your tasks, this is the time to look around at project management software. We use a software called Asana, ASANA.com, Asana. There's Trello, there's Basecamp, there's Monday, there's Redbooth. There's lots of great project management software out there. And that is project management is the backbone of business. We are all running projects.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I used to actually work in project management, and maybe that was a really good segue into becoming an entrepreneur, but it's that mentality of breaking things into tasks.
Yes.
Planning the interrelationships, finding the critical path. Now that's a PM term, but actually just kind of thinking things through. And I guess kind of what it all leads down to is you're using your time most efficiently, which is the one resource we all only have the same amount of.
That's right.
By being more project management focused.
I'll tell you, I think the two things that we do at Black Dress Circle to be a very efficient team, we're a very efficient small team and very effective team, is we are project managers, and we use project management software, and we schedule everything. So you might have picked up on that when I shared my daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is in our calendars. And so when I have planned out a project, because we're talking about operations here, I've done some project planning, and now I need to work on the project again to keep it alive and to move it forward. I don't just put that on a list. I put that in my calendar on the specific date and time that I'm going to work on that project. Now, if I have a podcast opportunity like this come up, I'm going to drag and drop that project work session to somewhere else that fits, but it's still going to be in my calendar. So
well, we're glad you set a priority on this.
Heck yeah.
So you want to get away from just having post notes everywhere.
Yes.
The project management software might be a little over the head of some of the, the smaller. I mean, there's something I can think about. Everybody should be at least be using Microsoft Outlook and,
yes.
tasks and scheduling. You can use that as a, which is what I use now, is kind of a project management tool, is just make effective use of Outlook. And so if you're doing something, assign a task to it, put your notes on the task. And at least, I start my morning by looking at my tasks each day, and then I kind of reprioritize them each week. But you got to just kind of get into that project management mentality you're talking about to do things more efficiently.
Yes, and Richard, to build on that, what I would add is that if you're using Microsoft Outlook as an example, you would probably be using the Microsoft Outlook calendar. And what I like to do is I like to do my planning when I can think clearly about planning, mm-hmm. And therefore, when I sit down at my desk and I've done my Facebook Live and now it's 9 a.m., I do not want to have to think about what I'm supposed to do next, because that for me is overwhelming. I want to look at my calendar and it's going to tell me, oh, I'm supposed to prepare for my home-based magazine interview this morning from 9 to 9:30. And you did very well. I'm going to do just that. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point to bring out, in that you don't want to just kind of be shooting from the hip on planning, but sit down part of that discipline you're talking about is sit down a certain time of the day or week. I guess it's got to be done daily, and say, okay, this is my schedule. And then as the day goes through, you don't want to be having to think about it. It pops up and say, okay, this is what I'm going to work on right now.
That's right. I think that, business owners are making decisions all day, every day. And anything we can do to ease our load and to ease our anxieties and our stresses, particularly during this pandemic, we want to do. So if you don't already have a time and a routine for yourself to plan your week ahead, I would recommend that. Maybe that's your Sunday morning or Saturday morning or Friday before you close your laptop for the day. You just look out at next week and kind of get a sense of what's coming up and get your arms around things, and go ahead and put into your calendar when you're going to work on those key projects that you need to move forward.
What was that saying? Plan your hunt and hunt your plan, or something.
I like that. That's
well,
exactly.
Erin Joy, it's been a great discussion on looking for ways to leverage our business during these tough times of COVID-19. Do you have any final points you'd like to share?
My final point is that mindset is everything. And that is the one thing that we can all control. We can't control the virus. We can't control the economy. We can't control the competition, but we can control our mindsets. And the most effective mindset that I am coming from is, what is my purpose here? What am I here to do? And what I'm here to do is to empower entrepreneurs. And that is the lens that I look at everything through. That is the mindset that is informing all of my actions. So I would just really encourage people to have something like my, empowering entrepreneurs. Have your version of that you can true yourself up to every day, all day.
Find where you can add value. Well, thank you very much for sharing all this advice.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Erin Joy, thank you for being such a wonderful guest on the Home Business Podcast.
Thank you all.
To learn more about Erin Joy and our book, The Anatomy of Accomplishment, visit blackdresscircle.com or our podcast website for more information on guests.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our website, homebusinessmag.com.
Visit the website for information on advertising, subscribe to our newsletter. Please visit our sponsors. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or the expo at homebusinessexpo.com.
I'm Richard Henderson saying anchors away.
We'll talk with you soon. Until then,
make it a great home-based biz day.